Hey, what's up? I'm Casey and this is CaseyReacts. Today we're going to be going through r/ShortScaryStories on Reddit. Last time I did one of these, it was through r/NoSleep, but I really didn't like that I could only do one story because of the time constraints. So, I decided to go with Short Scary Stories. Short Scary Stories is where you can post any kind of short, scary, creepy, or spooky stories up to a 500 word limit. So, you get a lot more bang for your buck. Granted, in this case, your buck is $0.00 because you're not paying for this. Alright, let's get right to it. Revenge of the Vending Machine. Stop being such a sissy, Danny, teased my brother Jesse. Just shake it a little. Something about the machine bothered me. Ever since we hopped out of Mom and Dad's car at the rest stop and headed to the area marked Vending, I'd felt like it was watching me. It cast a sinister aura. I'm not sure if it was the indecipherable graffiti sprayed around its perimeter, or the strangely antiquated appearance of its Spartan supply of snacks. The top row was empty aside from 2 bags of potato chips marked guaranteed fresh until 1/1/1999, and a half-melted oatmeal cream pie that drooped over the metal spiral holding it in place. I don't know, Jesse, I murmured. The food looks disgusting anyway. Out of my way, twerp, retorted Jesse, pushing me aside. As I tumbled into the concrete wall, he gripped the machine and shoved. It was heavy, and at first it didn't budge, but finally, Jesse managed to lift its front legs. When they crashed down again, Jesse's prize came loose from the bottom row. Gotcha! He exclaimed. With a satisfied smile, he reached into the pickup box. The treat he removed read, Clarissa's Jumbo Glazed Honey Bun. As we departed, a metallic sound, like the clank of metal against a hard surface, drew my attention back to the machine. Somehow it looked like it had moved, if only by a few inches. You sure you don't want any? Asked Jesse as we sat in our hotel room that evening. Our parents had left us alone while visiting the bar. Yeah. Good, because I wouldn't have shared it anyway, idiot, mumbled Jesse as he took another bite of the gooey pastry. As he chewed, he seemingly took no notice of its strangely stringy texture. This is so good, and it didn't cost me a dime. Too bad you were too chicken to get it. A deep, blunt sound boomed against the door to the hallway. What do you think it is? I asked Jesse. What do you think, moron? Mom and Dad must have forgotten their key. He hopped off the bed and headed to the door. You should look before opening it, I called. I'm Danny. I'm scared of everything, he mocked as he swung the door open. What? He gasped upon finding himself face to face with the vending machine, which wedged its way into the room. I covered my eyes as Jesse's screams faded. When I finally peeked, I saw his foot sticking out of the pickup box. With a slurp sound, it, too, was sucked inside. My parents later found me unconscious. Of course, no autonomous vending machine was located and no one believed my story. Jesse's disappearance went unsolved. Years later, I found myself at a familiar rest stop. A chill runs down my spine as I creeped into the vending machine area and towards a machine covered in graffiti. The label on one of the pastries on its bottom row reads, Jesse's Jumbo Glazed Honey Bun. I don't really know what I expected there. I can honestly say I definitely didn't expect the vending machine to come to the door to eat him. It's not really what I had in mind. I feel like that has the same energy of, I punched a tree in the woods. I went home. I opened the door whenever I heard a knock, and a tree punched me in the face. It's just not really that great of a build-up. It's nice not having the air burn your skin. Edward hadn't been outside for ages. The cold air burns your skin. Edward stood in front of his bunker door, his hand on the freezing steel handle. His mind rolled back to 3 years prior, where Earth was a thriving and peaceful planet, and mankind had united as a whole. Everyone and everything lived in perfect unity. Then, Delta B struck. Delta B was a 3-kilometer-wide asteroid heading for Earth. No one had seen it coming, and when humanity saw it, they had to adapt. So, as the unity they were, they came together and launched several missiles into space in an effort to destroy the asteroid. It worked, but the thing that makes missiles dangerous is the chemicals inside them. The massive number of rockets rocked the world into nuclear winter, and chemicals mixed amongst the air. The clouds covered the sky, and the global temperature plummeted. Wildlife and plants died out, and soon, most of humanity followed. Those who were fortunate enough, such as Edward, made their way into bunkers and hid out there. But, when resources became scarce within the walls of those havens, They had to exit and scavenge for food. Edward hadn't been outside in ages, but he had to now. He gripped his warm hand on the cold handle and pulled it towards him. The air was cold, but it was nice having the air not burning your skin. What Edward didn't know was that glacier temperatures numb your nerves, and as he felt something itchy on his face, he scratched his face and something came off. A thick, pink piece of skin. So what I'm hearing is this dude's face came off like a Scooby-Doo villain's mask. Could you imagine just pulling your face off and being like, "Oh, it was me the whole time! I'm the bad guy!" I don't like who I see when I look in the mirror. For months I thought I was going insane. I would walk into my bathroom and see another face in the mirror. I didn't tell anyone. They might put me in a hospital or ask if I'd stop taking my meds. So after a while I just kind of learned to live with it, like chronic pain or taxes. They were always strangers. I'd trim my beard, and a large black woman in the mirror would reach up and brush her hair. I'd splash water on my face, and an Asian man's face would greet me, covered in blood. It took me a long time to figure it out, but one day I saw an old friend of mine in the mirror instead of myself. I called him, chatted for a bit, and felt a little better about the whole situation. He died later that same day. Car accident. Totally random. Unless you put the pieces together like I did. When I look in the mirror, I see the face of someone that will die that day. I never made the connection because until last week, I had only seen strangers. Today, though, today is going to be difficult. Because for the first time in months, I turned the shower on and looked into the mirror and was greeted by a face I almost forgot about. My own. Okay, that one was pretty good. That was not necessarily scary or spooky, but that's a really good premise. That's something that could be like turned into something bigger. Turned into something that's not just a 500-word story to flesh it out a little bit more. I like that one. That one wasn't bad. I don't think I really have anything that I can make fun of that one with. That one was decent. Grandpa. When his last tooth fell, we thought Grandpa was done for. Look at him. Won't ever hunt again, Daddy said. But Grandpa got low on creaking bones, snarling toothless, and Mama had a hell of a time putting the leash back on him. Once or twice he even got his gums on her, and though she laughed, you could hear the rage in those desperate suckings of his. The fight was still in him. He sucked till his gums was raw. "Shoot him dead," Sis said once. We couldn't afford screw-in teeth, and what dentist would have served freaks like us anyway? So maybe doing him like a dog would have been the right thing. Anyhow, no one did it, so Grandpa lived. We fed him burger scraps and cardboard soaked in grease mostly, and he ate up, rattling his junkyard chain as he did, then licking his fingers clean. He got gaunt. Some days he stared at us with awful hate. All the while his fingernails grew and his toenails got the thick fungus, and he hadn't a place to sand either of them down because he didn't get out on the cement much. He never let anyone close enough to help. If you tried, he'd knock you over with his body and beat you with his head. He did Sis's nose like that. Got her down and smashed her face. She screamed something silly. She hated him god-awful after that, always giving him the boot when she thought no one was looking. Then one day, Grandpa got free. We all had gone home from a hunt, carrying some grocery bags of meat, and he wasn't there, just a busted chain. "Well, I'll be," Daddy said. We thought he'd gone for good, and good for him, family after all. But he didn't get nowhere but the attic. He sat up there for 6 or 7 days, working his toenails with some rusted clippers, getting sharp crescent moon pieces loose, then taking those pieces and stabbing them into his soft old gums so that the blood ran down from wound to the yellowed tip. The day he came back, I was in the kitchen. I heard him drop, then Sis screamed and, "Get off me, you old freak!" He must have got one of his fangs into an artery because when I saw her, she was already on the floor, trying to keep the spurting blood in her body. But there ain't no fingers tight enough for that. He got Mama next, slamming her from behind right into the glass coffee table before biting a chunk out of her neck, still throbbing when he spit it out. And the tabletop must have got wedged in her pretty good because she was sputtering nonsense when he finished her with the broken glass. Daddy was outside by then. Grandpa felled him. Then he smiled. "You ain't done me wrong, kiddo," he said, and that was as good a winter as any in the old times, with no bellies wanting. I can only assume this is a true story based on something that happened in Alabama. I don't know why. Just getting very, very strong Alabama vibes from it. Lucky Penny. He pried the dead man's hand open, one finger at a time, revealing the penny in his palm. The very last one, for there was no money left in his possession to steal. He heaves the bag onto his back and runs. 3 blocks away, a truck is parked on a steep hill. Its parking brake fails, sending it rolling forward. It's night, and the normally bustling street is empty. He stops at the intersection to catch his breath. It's safe to walk now. He takes 2 steps and notices motion out of the corner of his eye, but far too late. The truck slams into him, carrying him further and crushing him against a wall. He drops the penny. She listens as the radio details an accident to nearby officers. An opportunity. She slaps the cameraman awake and drives to the scene, beating the police by a precious few seconds. She goads the cameraman to film the man's splattered remains, which he accomplishes very briefly before vomiting. She's annoyed but satisfied with the footage, and her reporting will lead to a spot on primetime. As she leaves, a glint on the ground catches her eye. The penny. She picks it up and smiles. Her lucky night. Later, she walks down an empty street to her apartment. A man runs up behind her and grabs her purse. She resists and hits him in the nose. As he stumbles, she fumbles for the spray. He removes his gun and fires it 7 times into her chest. She falls, breathless. He picks up the purse and runs. He arrives at the house shaken. He presents the purse to his friend as proof. Finally, he'll be accepted into the crew. He hands over the purse's contents, minus 1 item, the penny. His friend congratulates him and asks him to help in the basement. He goes downstairs, asking the masked workers what he could do. They need a blue bag from the bigger pile. Or was it a white bag from the smaller one? He brings a bag from the smaller pile. He can help by emptying it into the vat. He cuts the bag open and empties its contents at once. Bubbles, smoke, steam, sparks, an explosion. The shockwave bursts his eardrums and lungs. The shrapnel impales his throat, and the contents of the vat burn his skin. The penny is sent skyward with the majority of the house's contents. 300 meters away, the penny falls gently into the grass next to a bush. A man passes by several hours later, a glint on the ground catching his eye. He picks it up and smiles, taking his place across the school and unpacking his binoculars. His lucky day. This one was okay, but it felt a little forced. It felt like it didn't really have much of a build-up. Which, I mean, I get that. You only have 500 words, so you can't really do too much of a build-up. But, I don't know. This one felt like they could have done a little bit better with the premise. Text Your Future Self game. The phone I found on the beach had enough charge that it was still functional, around 5%. Not uncommon to see with my metal detector. I was surprised when it turned on, though. Just long enough to read some strange texts. Probably a prank, but I figured I would share them anyway. I woke up feeling great today. I decided I would try this challenge that people are doing. Text yourself and set a reminder to read messages later on. I'm going to talk about my day as I have experiences and remind myself to check it in a year. I bought some flowers, and I'll tell you what, they smell great. Remember to buy yourself some flowers every once in a while. It may seem cliche, but stop to smell the flowers. I was mugged. Yes, it's a terrible thing, but I can't let it ruin today. One good thing came out of it. A guy helped me out and made sure I didn't need an ambulance. Even offered to give me a ride. I declined, but it's nice to know there are still good people out there. Do you remember Anna from work? She said she would go out on a date with me after work. Fingers crossed. Maybe things turn out great after tonight, huh? Right? You already know, it went great! I wish I could text back in time and tell myself to prepare other things. We clicked perfectly, and she even invited me back to her apartment. That isn't creepy, is it? Not too fast? I can tell that things are going in that direction. Do you still remember it? Weirdest thing, though. That guy from earlier today lives near Anna. Super friendly and seemed excited to meet her. He must have just moved in because she didn't recognize him. She liked the story about him helping me after being mugged, though. Hopefully she doesn't fall for him instead. Damn! Tonight was astounding. I didn't expect things to go this way, but I guess when you try to approach your day positively and be confident, things can go great. Something bugged me, though, so I think I'll call the police. That guy from earlier is just standing outside, staring into the dark. It's 3 a.m. What the hell is he doing? Listen, we get out of this, right? Please, if it's at all possible, just text yourself and tell me that we escape. That we don't remember this. I don't want to remember the sounds of her screams. I hope that the police get here soon. I'm not stupid, okay? It's not silly to be hopeful, though. I hope that you can still dream and hope that things turn out good even in terrible situations. The police told me to stop prank calling since I kept whispering. I hope that you survived and can still find happiness. He's searching every single room. He knows that I didn't leave. Goodbye. Yeah, no, I really liked that one. That one was good. That one was very, very good. Had a really good premise. Could have gone on a little bit longer, but obviously has that 500 word count limit, so no, that one was good. That was a nice one to end on. I can say, though, I think next time I do one of the scary story ones, I don't think I'm going to do the short scary stories. I don't know why. They just don't seem to have the same tension that the full-sized ones do. I guess that extra length really does help. Alright, and with that, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to come back throughout the week for more content. Please like and subscribe to help keep this channel going, and have a great week.